Good afternoon. This is Brian Hodgson from Descartes Systems Group, and I'm joined here today with Michel Massey from Aljex. I'd like to welcome everyone to today's webinar. We're going to cover Descartes and Aljex, some new capabilities and the integration between the two systems. Michel has been with Aljex since 2010, and she has worked very closely with customers on solution development, online training, sales, demonstrations, and transitioning new clients to VLive. Just before we get started, I'm just going to a couple of housekeeping details before we get into the material. Today's webinar will be recorded, and the link along with a copy of the slides will be sent along to all the attendees in the next 24 hours. And we encourage you to ask questions. So we do have a Q&A session for at the end of the slides in the presentation, so you can use the Q&A function on the left of your screen to submit those questions, and we'll step through those at the end. So today what we're going to cover, just a quick overview of Descartes, looking at the attendees. Looks like some existing customers, both of Aljex and MacroPoint and some other brokers out there and LSPs, so it's good to see a diverse set of attendees. We'll go into an overview of Aljex as well as some highlights of new capabilities, and we'll do the same on the MacroPoint side, give an update on some new capabilities on MacroPoint. Then we'll dive in and show the integration between Aljex and MacroPoint, and then we'll wrap it up with Q&A. So with that, let's get started. So in the last year, both Aljex and MacroPoint have become part of the Descartes ecosystem. And you know, Descartes is a leading global solution provider in logistics, and having the teams from MacroPoint and Aljex join the staff here at Descartes has been tremendous. A lot of the value and the technology is with the very deep domain expertise in a lot of different segments. So having the Aljex and the MacroPoint team, added into that and bring the expertise around freight brokerage and then more broadly with logistics service providers is very synergistic. And through the team and the technology, deliver really a broad set of solutions, creating tremendous value for our customers, which results in extremely strong financial results. You can see here 12 years of record performance. And then being able to take that financial success and reinvesting it in continued innovation to deliver value to the customers. And today we'll cover off both enhancements and innovations within each solution, and then how they're integrated and serving the customers more effectively. Just a bit of background, as I said earlier, most of the people on the webinar today are either broader logistics service providers, and then more specifically focused on freight brokers. So, just as a bit of background from Descartes, Descartes really serves a very broad set of industries, both intermediaries, logistics service providers across different modes, and then a huge spectrum of shippers, in various industries. So as freight brokers and LSPs, you may see partners on here, carriers that you're connected to, customers. So being able to leverage the broader Descartes solutions and have a tighter integration with those partners across the supply chain represents a huge opportunity. And that gets tied together with a Descartes Global Logistics Network, which is the largest multi-enterprise, multi-mode B2B network for logistics, really connecting in the intermediaries with the shippers across all different modes. I talked earlier about carriers, so thinking about, today we're talking a lot about freight brokerage, but it can extend beyond that. There may be some international moves. There may be, opportunities to integrate things like, tender and invoice. So connecting the solutions into the GLN provides, again, a broader opportunity for both the Aljex Descartes solutions, MacroPoint solutions, and ultimately our customers and your customers as well, and leveraging that within your business. I'm now going to pass it over to Michelle. Michelle is going to give an update on some of the highlights of Aljex and an overview for Aljex. So Michelle, you want to take it from here?
Yes, Brian, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Massey. I'm the Director of Sales here at Aljex. And I'm just going to spend a couple of minutes here, maybe 5-10 minutes, going over some of the high-level features of Aljex software for those of you on the line that are not currently using Aljex. So I'm going to, like I said, spend a few minutes explaining why we are the premier web-based solution for brokers. Okay. Just some of the Aljex customers that are currently satisfied using Aljex, some of our bigger customers that really have been instrumental in building the software over the years, and with the customization that some of these larger customers have suggested and have worked with our programmers on, have really allowed for Aljex to become the premier software for brokers. We've been around for about 22, 23 years now. Aljex, and we like to say that we have been built on over 20 years of our customers' great ideas. So any of our customers, large or small, that have had a great idea as a broker, and it would be great if the system had this, it would be great if the system had that, and we have worked with to develop a feature over all these years, actually gets utilized by all of our customers. So anything that we develop is shared and used by all of our customers. So again, this really is why we are the #1 solution on the market for brokers, because we have been built by brokers for brokers. Just a few slides here that are going to give you some images of the system. I know this is coming through a little bit blurry on my side here. It wasn't when I made it. I apologize. But it is very streamlined, very easy to use, one-page dispatch, as well as a one-page home screen or load board, if you will. So everything's going to be color-coded for you. That's going to show you a clean snapshot of where all of your shipments are, what status those shipments are in. Okay. It's also completely customizable at the user level. So we understand that different users who might be using it have different tasks at hand or have different roles with the company. So Aljex is very easily customizable to the user so that they can create their own homepage or create their own alerts, so that the track and trace team is seeing some different information on their screen that might be useful than maybe the carrier sales team is seeing. So anything that can be filled in Aljex, any of our fields like appointment dates or when a last check call was made, whether manual or through MacroPoint, is visible to those users. So really gives great visibility. Another tool that Aljex has that I know is or might be pretty unique to Aljex, as I don't hear about this from other softwares, is some of our carrier matching tools. Our Smart Search is one of our greatest features, and the Smart Search is going to allow you to match trucks with your available shipments. And it's going to allow you to match those trucks based on your internal truck file. It's going to match it based on your shipment history. You're going to be able to see which carriers have done those shipments for you in the past, how many times they've done it for you in the past, what the average cost of those shipments have been. The Smart Search is even going to allow you to send out correspondence to your carriers for a particular shipment. So if you want to say, hey, I want to send this out to my core carriers, I want them to see what it is that we're paying, or maybe I want them to bid on the load. So carriers can bid, and you can send this out to them via email right from your Smart Search screen. So great for carrier sales team, great for getting shipments covered, great source for, or one step before having to send this out to the load boards and trying to get it covered with some of your core carriers. We also have some tools for your customers and your carriers as well. So we all know that your customers want visibility on their shipments, right? How can I see where my shipments are? How can I see how my shipment is tracking? How can I see, any quotes that you might have in the system? All of this can be done right through our online customer portal, which you can put right on your website if you want. This can be branded for your company with your company logo, but each customer will be able to log in, see real-time tracking. If those shipments are being tracked through MacroPoint, they will be able to see real-time data that flows in from MacroPoint. So where that shipment is, what the status of that shipment is. They also can see their current AR aging status of their shipments, outstanding freight quotes, which they can actually accept, view and accept right here through the portal, which will create shipments for you in your system. So really great automated feature there. They can even, if you want them to, be able to create their own shipments, whether that's an LTL shipment or a full truckload shipment, right through the online portal. And we did not leave out the carriers. The carriers also have an online portal, which again, you can put on your website, you can brand. The carrier portal will allow your carriers to log in and do things such as update their own in-transit shipments. They can post their own check calls through the web portal. They can update your load statuses. They can update their own ETAs. They can add available equipment. So the available equipment is going to tie right into that Smart Search that I spoke about a few slides earlier, and that will come into play with the carrier matching for your carrier load matching. They can also view your available freight. So the screen that you're looking at here, they can see what is available, what open loads you have in your system, and they can even bid on those loads right from here. And if they are a trusted carrier of yours or a preferred carrier, they might even be able to accept that load right through the web and cover themselves on that shipment in your system. Another great feature that we came out with within the past year is the Aljex Inbound Document Portal. This is going to allow customers or carriers, mainly carriers, to send in their paperwork to an email address that's linked to your Aljex system. This is going to bring those documents into a document queue where your users, or if you have someone who is in charge of documentation, can manage those documents right here. The documents that come into the queue, it doesn't matter if they send in one PDF that has multiple documents. Maybe they have a POD or a BOL mixed in with their rate confirmation or their invoice, right? It's going to separate those documents, and then you can index those documents and assign them to the appropriate pro number, or if the pro number is in the subject of the email, it will automatically index that document and put it in the correct folder for you. So very easy to get your documents into the correct pro number, and then from there, that is going to help automate your billing process. So your customers will be able to get those BOLs, PODs, anything that they require along with their invoice automatically because it's been indexed into that pro. So that will print out with invoices or be sent via email. So really great automated feature in the inbound document portal. And then just to wrap up here, extensive reporting capabilities. So in Aljex, we have hundreds of canned reports. We have a bunch of different accounting reports, invoicing, AR reports, AP reports, as well as sales, profit, and activity reports. So if you need to see how you're doing based on customer, or if you wanted to sort some activity reports and get profit by sales rep or by dispatcher, all of those reports are going to be available to you. And then finally, just how automated is Aljex? Well, in a word, very. Aljex is automated from beginning to end. So from the time an order arrives via EDI, so we can accept load tenders via EDI to get those shipments automatically in your system, to shipments automatically posting to the external load boards, automatically pushing updates to those load boards, automatically removing the shipment from those load boards, email offers to carriers, carriers bidding on loads, and then you can take that all the way through to the back end as well. So customers being able to be e-billed, customers being able to view their invoices on the web. Okay. All the way to the end where we can send out, you can cut checks and have notifications sent to your carrier, letting them know that they've been paid either via email or right through that carrier web portal. So just a ton of automation. It's going to save you time and money. And Aljex is awesome, in a word. So we get great feedback from our customers of just how user-friendly the system is, how much time it's saving them, how much money it's saving them. Being able to cover more loads in less time is the name of the game, and Aljex is going to be able to help you out with that. Okay. And with that, Brian, I will push back to you for the MacroPoint update.
Very good. Thank you very much. Yeah, and certainly as I talk to customers, it's looking at squeezing every bit of sort of manual labor, so that automation and then also integration to the trading partners can provide huge value. So good summary. So a quick update on MacroPoint. So MacroPoint provides the largest real-time freight network in the world. Invented it, really reinvented the market 8 years ago. So providing that connectivity across over 115,000 carriers. So really is it a de facto, and it's really good to have that more tightly now integrated in with Aljex and leveraging that to complement the additional sort of automation and integration that Michelle talked about. And when I talk to customers, so they often ask, which loads, are going to be tracked and which would use MacroPoint for. And certainly in the last few years, the dynamics have changed. So there's a basic savings. If there's a team of track and trace and they're doing manual calls to carriers and doing those updates, there's a fairly straightforward ROI to provide that savings. Now thinking about what loads track, really trying to get to a much more managed by exception model. So not thinking about every load and having to do any manual work, but have the data flow, be tracked automatically, flowing back into Aljex and allowing that team to be much more proactive in terms of redeploy, maybe create strong relationships with the carriers, develop new customers, open up new lanes, and drive new business. So there really aren't, it's not, obviously the important high value loads make sense to track, but the low value ones, it doesn't make sense to put people on those either. So it's really focused on sort of maximizing that team, the resources you have to drive business and cover more loads, and again drive that revenue and profit. And I thought it'd be good to just share so that this control tower, which is part of MacroPoint, we talk about it helps you visualize how that can be used. We talk about managed by exception, and not being, having a team phoning the carriers, verifying pickup, how far away they are. And with the MacroPoint control tower, this provides here a summary view of all the loads. You have the loads down the left, but the color coding provides a very easy way to see, hey, where the challenge is. You can see there's filters along the top that allow you to filter out the sort of yellow-orange, which are, hey, these are the loads that are late, so that might take more proactive action, make sure that they're going to be delivered on time. And so you can filter on that. In addition, filter on things like weather and traffic. So, thinking about that in terms of managing by exception, and more of this data now with the integration there's more automation now between Aljex and MacroPoint we'll talk about, and also more information flowing back to give the information in that system of record inside of Aljex. Now, in terms of the network, we continue to expand it, and that's a key part of MacroPoint. As I talked about earlier, MacroPoint really invented the freight visibility market, and very well known for cell phone tracking. And as I talk to customers, many of them still view MacroPoint really as sort of a cell phone tracking solution. But really, over the last few years, it's broadened dramatically in terms of both how we connect to carriers, and certainly we see ALD with the mandate as really the fastest way, the fastest connection method to expand connectivity, but also expanding across different modes. So moving beyond truckload to less than truckload, rail, intermodal, and then also leveraging the broader Descartes Global Logistics Network to connect into air and ocean. So really providing a single connection, you get visibility across different modes and updated status. Now with ELD, with the mandate, there's a tremendous amount of devices out there. MacroPoint's invested, and we've really built out a team to connect into these, and that enables a much bigger network and also faster connectivity and enablement. So as we bring on a new customer, or as you guys switch carriers, that network, and to be able to be either pre-connected or already connected through ELD, provides huge advantages in terms of time to value and just agility to be able to leverage and use a broader carrier set. So at this point, we have connected to over 100 ELDs. It seems like there's a new ELD provider coming out, each week. But again, a lot of investment to expand. So, multiple different ways to connect ELDs. Another way is around the carrier dispatch system. So that just provides a much more robust network, and just a lot more value and flexibility for our customers. And then within this, one of the things in terms of driving compliance, and as we sign up new customers, we've developed a whole set of tools to both educate the carriers. I mean, often the first reaction is sort of pushback, and sort of educating them on the importance and the mandate and the value of visibility. So we have a whole resource and a website that allows them to educate themselves, FAQs, some videos, and then a very specific workflow to streamline and measure the carrier onboarding. So we have dashboards set up that we work with our customers to provide, okay, we're bringing on 500 of the carriers, and we're doing them in sprints, and then between our carrier activation team and the customer, everyone is looking at the same data in terms of where the carriers are, who's onboarding, what's the level of success, and that's done a tremendous amount to accelerate the time to value as customers get plugged into the network. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Michelle, who's going to give an overview and a comparison of the new integration and the benefits relative to the integration that has been traditionally in place.
Right. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so I'm going to explain both sides of the coin here, and I know that we have a few current Aljex customers on the line, so I'm going to explain how it works now, and then I'm going to explain how the new integration is going to work, and we'll carry that through to some of the further slides. So currently, the MacroPoint integration is a manual button. It's not a manual process, but it's a manual button where you need to choose on each shipment that you want to track that shipment through MacroPoint. Once you choose that you want to track that shipment through MacroPoint, all of those cell phone pings are going to come into your system in the form of check calls. So what it's going to update currently is the city, the state, the date, the time, and then it's going to let you know that it was tracked through MacroPoint right in your check call screen. Okay. Moving forward with the new integration, and I'm going to be getting into this in more detail, but we're going to have automated rule-based tracking, so you can still choose to track each shipment individually, or you can set up rules so that you don't have to remember, don't have to set reminders for yourself to make sure that that shipment is being tracked. You can also configure how often you want that tracking to take place, the tracking with that ELD or with that driver's cell phone, you choose. Okay. Automated arrival and departure events, as well as a load closing out automatically once a shipment is delivered. It's going to be marked as delivered. Okay. Okay, so for the rules-based automated tracking, you're going to see a screen in your Aljex setup menu that looks like this. You can choose to, A, track all of your shipments, okay, so you never have to remember. It's just automatically going to track all of your loads. Or you can set up some rules to track selected loads. And you see over here on the right-hand side of the screen, more filters increase the scope, more loads are tracked. So you can select customers. I want to track it for ABC shippers. I want to track for Walmart. I want to track for so-and-so. You can also set it up to track for equipment types. So if I choose customers and I choose vans, it is going to track, it's going to be so it's going to track those customers, and it's going to also track all of my shipments that require a van. Okay? You can also choose to track for certain carriers. You can, and Aljex customers know what this means, but certain revenue types, and also for certain offices. So if you are operating an agent model, you have outside agent offices, or if you just have different locations, you can choose to select for those offices as well. So rules-based automated tracking, you set what loads you want to be tracked. So here are some more tracking options. This has to do with the tracking intervals. So you can choose how often you want that particular shipment to be tracked. Do you want your tracking to take place every half hour, every 1 hour, every 2 hours? And then just to tie this back into some Aljex features, you can, in Aljex, set up your customers to automatically receive check call reports on their active shipments. So if you have a customer who says, I want to be updated every 6 hours or every 2 or every 4 or hourly on my check calls and where my shipment is, then maybe you want to set your tracking interval to, you know, when they want to receive those updates. So if they want to receive it every 2 hours, you don't want to send them a check call report with what they've already seen. So let me set my tracking interval to every 2 hours so I'm getting the most up-to-date information to my customer. You can also set when you want the tracking to begin. So right here you see that it's set to start 2 hours before the pickup appointment. Okay, so that is also going to be an option. There is going to be some minimum required data. So a pickup appointment date it says is optional but highly recommended, but that pickup appointment date is going to be required if you want the shipment to start tracking a certain amount of time before the pickup appointment date, obviously. So that would be required there. For cell phone tracking, you are going to need to have the driver's cell phone filled in, and for ELD tracking, you are going to need to have the SCAT code and the truck number entered in. Okay. To receive scheduled alerts, which I'll get into in the next slide, you are going to need to have the consignee or the delivery appointment date and time. So the scheduled alerts are going to be letting you know if a shipment is running ahead of schedule, or if the system needs to give you a late ETA warning. And this is what it's going to look like in your check call screen. This particular shipment is getting a lot of pings, but it's really good to show you here the location update. So you're getting, you see in that third column, GPS location. The status updates are going to automatically update. So via MacroPoint, which is where it says MCPT, it automatically updated this shipment to loaded. It automatically updated this shipment to delivered. And then where you see those schedule updates, if you can, I know it's a little bit blurry, but you can see here on the right-hand side that the GPS location is letting us know that it is, a certain amount of hours ahead of schedule. And this is also where you will get those late ETA warnings as well, based on MacroPoint's own algorithms and also based on that delivery appointment date and time that you have entered into Aljex. So a lot of great stuff coming from MacroPoint and Aljex. Really great visibility to the loads. Your customers are going to be happy, and it's going to, help you stay on top of where these shipments are a lot better than, the current integration with Aljex. And then I will now pass it back to Brian to go over Descartes' capacity matching feature.
Thanks, Michelle. And again, good to see and hear how it's tied into some of the native capabilities of Aljex. So we're going to finish here with sort of a sneak peek into Descartes MacroPoint capacity matching, solution launched earlier this year, and really getting, with the current capacity crunch, driver shortage, really getting a tremendous amount of attention and interest and adoption from the customers. So we'll spend a few minutes just giving, as I said, a sneak peek of that, and then we'll finish up. In terms of what Descartes MacroPoint is offering LSPs in the capacity matching, really comes down to three major areas. Innovations. One is around market visualization, and I'll give an example of that. Really helping the carrier, sales rep team find where they should be spending their time, maximizing their time and increasing the number of loads that they can cover with some visualization. And then automated matching with capacity, so using intelligent, lane history and to really provide the best match. So, when we're talking to customers, unfortunately, a lot of the load and coverage ends up being, tribal knowledge using various other tools, which often have old or stale data. So by providing, leveraging, hey, where are the assets and the trucks, known to be, and then matching that on history, that's cutting down on the time, dramatically in terms of being able to cover that load. And then, one of the biggest innovation and interest is around this capacity co-op. So one of the things we see and hear is, when one of our customers is, booking a load, let's say Kansas City to Phoenix, only, probably 85–90% of the time, they don't have a follow-on load to bring that carrier back out of Phoenix. Never mind bringing them back to Kansas City. So being able to, provide that forward-looking capacity into a co-op and share that amongst, really on an opt-in basis, so our customers can opt into this, share that, and then they can leverage capacity that other members of the co-op are are sharing, and we've seen really good results in terms of the number of loads covered. Sort of 3/4 of loads have a match, and about 2/3 end up getting matches from the co-op. So very good results. And then just in terms of sort of the MacroPoint philosophy, we really grew up supporting and enabling and empowering brokers to serve their customers and more effectively, and providing sort of enabling sort of the technology-empowered broker to really take advantage and leverage this, the capacity and grow and expand more quickly, rather than maybe some other approaches that are more of a disintermediation model. I mean, the expertise in commodity specific lanes and geographies that brokers provide is critical, and with MacroPoint really looking at how can we provide better technology to have our customers leverage that expertise and grow and expand their business. So this is an example of the visualization. So on the bottom you see fairly standard load board, and the map represents the available open loads. This could be for a team, an individual, and there's a heat map of forward-looking capacity. So looking out 24 to 72 hours, where are trucks going to be that can cover these loads? So a carrier sales rep can quickly look and see here, okay, they're in pretty good shape in the upper Midwest. There's some loads in Cleveland that doesn't look like there's a lot of capacity, so maybe spend some time on that, get that covered, because it might take a little more effort, and we're in good shape in some of the other areas. Now drilling into that, looking at a particular load, this one going from Cleveland to Phoenix. Now that smart algorithm in terms of matching on the bottom, how many times has that carrier run this lane? How many times have that been to that origin, that destination? So providing this prioritized list, and that data can be coming from internal data might match up with Smart Search with an Aljex, but also leveraging that data from the co-op, so expanding that data reach to get more coverage. So a couple key sort of innovations in the capacity matching product. And then in terms of what we hear from customers is it's cutting down on the time to book a truck. So if a rep can handle, instead of maybe 8 to 10 loads, they're covering 1 or 2 loads extra a day. That can have a huge impact on the revenue and the margin of the business. And then by giving forward capacity visibility, for longer periods, 24, it gives more flexibility and better rates. And it might be working with a customer, a shipper, to alter the pickup time to get a better rate, or might be a better rate that you can take in and add to the margin of the business. And then one of the other areas we see is for brokers where you may not have had sort of expertise or resources, carriers covered in a particular geography or lane, and maybe not take on some of those loads from customers. Now with expanded visibility in the co-op, it's opened up opportunity to open up some new business, and then take that on, get that covered, and then further expand from there. So hopefully that gives some good insights into what's coming, and that integration, getting tied back into Aljex and leveraging the other capabilities like Smart Search. So that brings us to the end, and we have a few minutes here for some questions. Again, if you have any questions, you can submit them through the Q&A in the tool. We'll go through those questions here, and then we'll wrap it up. So go ahead and submit. So looks like we have a couple that have come in, and Michelle, maybe this is a good one for you. What does Aljex offer in terms of lane pricing tools?
Okay, good question. So lane pricing tools. So we offer our own internal lane pricing tool, which is going to go off of your historical data in your Aljex system. So instead of having to go back to reports or having to go back to shipment history and search, you'll be able to search within a shipment and see what the historical rates within your system are for that lane. We also have a few integrations for lane pricing tools. So we integrate with DAT's lane rating, and then we also integrate with TruckStop's RateMate as well. You will be able to see those within a shipment. If you have all three, you will be able to do a comparison within the same screen of all of those rates.
So, okay, very good, thank you. Here's another question that's come in. What are the pros and cons of various connection methods? And I can address that. So certainly with ELD, there's a couple big advantages in terms of connecting to a carrier through ELD enables the drivers so that the process and the number of assets that can get visibility is more streamlined. So by connecting to the ELD now, let's say that's a carrier with 100 trucks. Now all of those trucks are available and sort of opted in. And then typically ELD will have a better accuracy on GPS. Now, not all ELDs provide mandate for connectivity and GPS. So in that case, the flexibility of either cell phone tracking or an application, the MacroPoint application, provides a quicker way to connect to particular drivers. So there's really pros and cons to each, and that's where the carrier team at MacroPoint, and the processes and the expertise that developed really help enable and sort of drive, again, sort of maximize that compliance and maximize the loads that get tracked. Okay. Here's another question. I'm going to pass it to you, Michelle. Does Aljex have any customer billing capabilities?
Yes, we do. So Aljex, we do have an accounting system. So you can bill your customers either electronically via EDI or via e-billing to their email or print invoices. We also have accounts receivable, a cash received application, as well as accounts payable. You can cut checks to carriers right out of Aljex. Or if you are cutting out of another source, you can still reconcile your Aljex system to show that they've been paid. Aljex is not a general ledger, so for true end-of-the-year financial reporting, our customers will export to QuickBooks, to Sage, or to Great Plains, which are three of our GL integrations that we offer.
Okay, excellent, thank you. And another question here in terms of the new versus old. Is there additional cost or pricing changes for the advanced integration versus the traditional?
On the Aljex type, so for current Aljex customers, if you are already a MacroPoint Aljex customer, it's already integrated. No, there will not be. We will, once it's ready, we will automatically, or you need to request it through us. We will get that updated in your system at no additional cost.
Yeah, and there's no general price change. It's really just adding additional value for that pricing. And right now we're running sort of for new customers and new integration, doing a promotion to provide that connectivity and integrate it. So if you are an existing either Aljex customer without MacroPoint, there's an opportunity to get integrated and waiving the implementation fee. So okay. Here's another question for you, Michelle. With Aljex's carrier matching feature, do you only look at trucks internally or do you search externally as well? How does that work?
Good question. So yeah, so during the presentation, I mentioned that smart search, that carrier matching feature, and I mentioned the internal trucks. But yes, that is, we do search externally as well. If you are using DAT's connection product or TruckStop's truck searching product, we can integrate those into Aljex so that we do scrape those load boards and pull in trucks, available live trucks through those load boards that match that shipment as well, and you'd be able to see them right there in that same screen.
Okay, very good. And we have, it looks like one of the questions come in here. With regard to temperature control with MacroPoint, what is required from carriers, and does MacroPoint provide hardware? So there's a new capability to provide temp control. And with MacroPoint, you can set up the zones in a carrier's refrigerated truck. It could be multiple zones with a temperature range and an expected range, and there'll be alerts and temperature reports that can be fed back. That does require the carrier to have the working with the devices internal. We don't sell the hardware. It's really providing an extension to the connectivity. So working with carriers and equipment like Thermo King, connecting that back, providing that visibility and alerts is where MacroPoint creates that value, and then there could be notifications back to the carrier or to the customer. So hopefully that answers that question. So it looks like we have addressed all the questions, so we'll finish up here. Again, I'd like to thank everyone for their time today, and if you have any additional questions or interested in, you can always reach out to Descartes at sales@descartes.com, or you can call 1-800-419-8495, 202-331 is the extension. Again, thank you very much for the time. Michelle, hey, thanks for your insights in terms of Aljex and the integration. And we'll hopefully hear from you soon. Keep an eye out for additional webinars. We have a few planned for the next couple months. Thanks very much, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Brian.